Welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with...
Elizabeth Helly.
And...
Tyler Hymanson.
And...
Today, I'm super excited to welcome our very special guest, my very good friend, Maureen Lee Lenker. She is a writer at Entertainment Weekly and kind of their point person for Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yes. I fell into that the way that Lily James falls off to the bar into a handsome man's arms.
3 times.
Yeah, and equally as pleased with that scenario as she is.
Nice. Well, this week, we were talking about the brand new sequel to Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yeah, and we want to say up top that this is in theaters right now, but we're going to completely spoil it.
Yeah, we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
We don't care about spoilers for you guys. Sorry.
I mean, hopefully you already saw it in the theater. If not, press pause, drive, use your AMC Stubbs A-list or whatever you want to use.
That's right.
Yeah.
And also, spoiler alert, I mean, the first movie spoils this movie.
Yes,
Yes.
it does.
True.
Also, the trailer was this movie.
So, yeah, I guess you don't need to see it.
Meryl Streep is dead.
Whoa!
You went there.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the trailer, why don't we check it out?
I have a dream, a song to sing. I'm so glad you're here. I'm pregnant, but I don't know how to do this by myself.
Your mother is the bravest person we ever met.
Look at my baby.
Let me tell you how she did it. All on her own.
Life is short. The world is wide. I want to make some memories.
This dress might look very pretty on...
You really don't know me at all, do you?
They're still singing, you guys. Still.
Thank God.
10 years later.
That's right.
And share.
Yeah.
And share.
Asterisks and share.
Before we full on jump into the plot of this movie, Maureen, I didn't know if you wanted to say a little bit about how you got into writing about the entertainment industry at Entertainment Weekly and kind of what you did for this film.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a pop culture junkie and a longtime EW subscriber. Been subscribing since 9th or 10th grade when my sister brought home a magazine subscription fundraiser for her school.
Nice.
And I've always been obsessed with the magazine, read it cover to cover every single week when it came, and majored in film in college. Knew I wanted to do something in entertainment, but wasn't really sure what. I acted. I've written things. I've produced and directed theater. I literally fell into doing red carpet interviews when I was working as an AFI festival intern. I was gathering social media content for us on the red carpet, and some publicist came up to me. This was for the Saving Mr. Banks premiere. Nice. And goes, "Are you ready for BJ and Jason?" As in BJ Novak and Jason Schwartzman. And for some reason, I said yes. And then they came over to me, and I just started asking them questions. I was like, maybe I'm good at this. So then I went back to school and got a master's in journalism. I should also add in there, as part of this, that my very first entertainment news writing was for Eliz on a website she ran for a while called The Popsicle.
Yes.
And that is where I learned to write TV recaps and do all sorts of fun stuff that I'm still doing now in a more professional capacity, I guess. Yeah. And then with Mamma Mia, I've been really excited about this movie since they announced it was going to happen, because I was a huge fan of the original property. Mm-hmm. It was the first show I saw on Broadway ever. I went on a trip to New York with my 8th grade class, and that was the Broadway show that was built into our all paid expenses trip.
Mine was The Lion King, same trip.
Nice. Yeah, and I got in trouble with our school counselor for jumping on the bed and singing Dancing Queen when we got back. Like the phone in the hotel room rings, and I'm like, "Hello." And she's like, Maureen, get off the bed. Stop singing Dancing Queen. It has to end now.
But you can't contain the music.
Yeah.
Also, you were just reenacting the film.
Right?
They literally
Exactly.
did that.
So then, of course, I loved the first movie. So then back to like when the trailer for this dropped, we knew it was going to drop that day. And my editor was like, hey, can you like pre-write something for this? And then we'll have it ready. And then someone has to get up at midnight when it goes live to publish it. And I was like, I want to see it when it goes live. I will stay awake and watch it. So I did that. And so then I've just been really enthusiastic about it ever since. And so that my editors kept giving me stuff to write about it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it finally came out this week, and we got to see it. And I'm going to say right up at the top here that I was borderline shocked by how much I enjoyed this movie.
Me too.
Because,
Yes.
you know, we talked about it on the podcast here, but one of the reasons we decided to do this as our first ever twofer is because the sheer notion of it having a sequel we thought was so ridiculous.
So patently ridiculous.
It's certainly going to be stupid or goofy or whatever.
Contrived, and forced.
Like,
and,
we were like, how are there more songs? Are there more songs?
Right. Like, it was like, are they losing the rights to this? Do they just a Spider-Man type situation where they need to make a Mamma Mia movie now? Otherwise, it's going to go to Fox or something.
Yeah.
That's not why I wanted to do it, but I see that that's now what you were doing. I just really wanted to talk about musicals.
I have to say I had really big expectations going in because the trailer is such a delight that I was like, this looks like it's actually going to be really good. And it so far exceeded them because the first movie is so much fun, but that's really like all it is fun. And this just had like so much emotional resonance that the first film didn't have. And I mentioned that to the director, Al Parker, when I was interviewing him. And he very graciously pointed out that wouldn't be the case if the first movie didn't exist, because there was a shorthand for all these relationships that he didn't have to spend any time building or establishing, and that the cast already loved each other so much that it made putting in moments like Meryl and Amanda's duet. Spoilers.
Spoilers, I also cried in the theater a lot during that part. I was like, oh God, Justin can see me in his peripheral vision.
It has been a long time since I've seen a movie where I like actively had to dig for tissues in my purse. But like, I didn't expect to need this.
Yeah, I mean, I did think it got a little dusty in there, even for me.
Yes. We should say that we saw this basically the midnight screening on a Thursday night before it came out, and there was groups of people dressed in their best Greek summer dresses.
Yeah, and also like disco. There were some bell bottoms and feather boas and stuff. So I was jealous.
I think that there was not many dry eyes in that house.
Yeah.
It was the right crowd to see it with.
I was gonna wear my overalls here tonight, but
I know.
That would have been great.
I don't fit in my Oshkosh bagashes.
Just hang them around your neck and show up. Yeah, so like we were saying, I also had low expectations for this, but like not really in the same way. I just kind of thought that it was going to be a weird story or something like that. And also, I don't know why I ever doubt Lily James, because she is consistently amazing. So obviously I knew her from Downton Abbey, but when they announced like live action Cinderella, and keep in mind this was like one of the first live action things that Disney did, I was like, live action Cinderella, like that's gonna be lame, like I don't know, you know. And then I went and saw it and was like, oh my God, Lily James is so beautiful. And then she like sings a song over the credits. She sings Dream is a Wish, and I was like, why didn't they make it all a musical? She's amazing, except for Helena Bonham Carter, of course. And then and so then the next thing was like Baby Driver. I was like, is she gonna be able to do an American accent? I don't know, who knows. And then I was like, oh, she's perfect, she's beautiful, she's wonderful. And same thing here. I mean, you can tell that she really studied the first movie and Meryl Streep's mannerisms. Like she's a star in her own right, and she did an amazing job like portraying young Meryl Streep. Yeah, she's one of those actors where I keep waiting for her to explode and have this huge moment, because she is so consistently good in everything she does. And she is, I've heard a lot of people say that she is
literally luminous in this movie. Like, she glows on screen. And her and the entire cast, both the work they did and the work the directors and producers put in with them to make their performances, all of the younger cast, to make them not doing impersonations of the people they're playing, but have so much of the similar energy and just enough mannerisms or things that they're doing that you really know exactly who they are. And it's Jessica Keenan-Wynn, who plays young Christine Baranski, is
amazing.
Uncanny.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you really just are her younger. It's not possible.
It's something like there's just so much love and respect with it. Like, well, we get a bunch of flashbacks of what we're talking about in this movie, and so we get to see the younger selves of a lot of the characters that we met in the first movie. And these young actors, many of them, you know, are not known or you wouldn't recognize them. They are channeling exactly what you said, the energy of these people, and there's not an ounce of cynicism or an impersonation or anything like that. It's really just the energy of the characters and the way that they're able to bring that out. It makes this movie so fucking charming.
Yeah, there's two comparisons that came to mind for me that you probably wouldn't expect to compare this movie to, but the first one is Finding Dory, because it's half prequel, half sequel. That actually makes me like the characters from the first movie more. Like, Dark Secret, I'm a notorious Dory hater from the first film, and then when I saw Finding Dory, I was like, oh, now I don't hate her. Okay, like, and so this, like, I mean, I didn't love Meryl Streep in the first one movie, but now I was like, oh, she's great because she used to be Lily James, and also now I, understand where she was coming from more, know? And then the other comparison that I would say, which is random, is Avengers Infinity War, because you have so many people in it, and you gotta, like, it manages to give everybody their moments in a nice way. Like, I think one thing we had said, we were a little bit worried that maybe they were just bringing these young people because they couldn't get the old people to do any scenes, and it was gonna, they were just gonna push the old people aside, but that really wasn't the case. Everybody, young and old, got their moment.
And the movie does a really clever, and I don't know if it's a meta interpretation of that, where it leads you to believe that, like, they're not going to be in it. Like, it plays it like, like that is the case. It's a sequel. They can't be here. We've given the reasons why they can't be here, and it makes it so delightful when they actually do show up.
I think another reason it works really well, Hugh Skinner, who plays Harry, the Colin Firth role, said that Colin told him, remember that you're not playing young Colin Firth. You're not playing young Pierce Brosnan, what have you. You're playing a younger version of a character. And he said that really helped all of them deal with the psychology of what they were doing, because it took the pressure off having to be this, like, famous acting icon and just be a person.
Yeah. No, it so easily could have devolved into an SNL skit of them just doing,
Well, and also as you age, like, you just choose to double down on certain parts of your personality. But when you're younger, it's a little bit more all over the place. And so they didn't, like, they weren't just one note what we knew of those people from when they were older.
Yeah. And we're talking a little bit about, like, the emotion in this movie. And I love that, they could have gone all sorts of different ways with the sequel, and they decide to go in a direction where they're not trying to make it look like it, takes place 2 years afterwards. It's like 10 years later or whatever.
Yep.
And the all the present day things, we already gave away that Donna has passed away for some reason in this universe. So, like,
still unclear.
Yeah. Somehow she died.
Maybe it's soap opera situation. Who knows? She'll be back in Mamma Mia 3.
But she was the only one who was taken by Thanos.
Yeah. That's true.
Same universe.
I want it to be something, like, really horrific, like she was standing on the cliff on the island and it, like, crumbled into the sea or something.
That goat that she, like, stares at for too long in the flashback finally got her.
The Greek chorus rose up.
Like, we're tired of working for you, white lady.
But I was just gonna say that, like, all the scenes in the present day, almost all of them, are filled with, like, this wonderful, like, almost like the sadness feeling and nostalgia, because it has been 10 years in real life, and you're seeing these characters come back. And the thing I loved is that we do get a couple reprises of songs from the first film, because there aren't as many that many iconic ABBA songs for two movies. But I also love that every time we're seeing some of the old characters, they're playing in the score, like, songs
Their
that they
theme.
sang
Yeah,
back in the
I
first
loved that.
movie. And, we get, like, Pierce Brosnan doing a little reprise of SOS,
I
which was,
gotta
like,
say,
so sad.
I never thought I would want to hear Pierce
Exactly.
Brosnan
Yeah.
sing again.
Yeah.
And that moment was so great and emotional and
Yeah.
done so well. And I
It
was
was-
like, am I crying? Pierce Brosnan singing, and not because it sounds bad.
Yeah. It was literally, like, as soon as the, like, piano started up in the theater, I was like, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
Oh,
my
it
heart.
was one of those things where it was like constructed around him, like exactly to his ability. Is kind of like this is a weird comparison too, but like how Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the songs for The Rock to be able to sing.
Yeah.
But like he watches old wrestling things. He's like, okay, I can write this in a way that he can do this.
Right.
Like that scene is built for like. This is the let's
the limit.
let's max out what Pierce Brosnan can do.
Yeah, and it like I think I don't know if it was one of your interviews or another one where he said like I'm relieved that I'm not singing as much in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes sense. You know, he's not an idiot. He knows it was not well received.
But to his credit, he just went for it.
Yeah, and the dancing, which we made fun of his goofy dancing in the first one, he just doubled down on it. He's like, I'm a dad. I've been a dad for even longer now. This is dad dancing, you know?
Yep,
so
yep.
Yeah, it was the EW Facebook Live where he was like,
Okay.
people took the piss out of my singing, and I didn't take it personally, but I did notice that there was significantly less of it in the script.
Yeah. Just have him sing in the group numbers.
yeah.
He tried so hard. He worked so hard.
Oh yeah, he was talking about how the
tried.
special features in the first one did that.
He tried so hard.
But so the movie has a lot of this undercurrent of sadness, but like the flashbacks and a lot of the movie itself is just so full of joy and like seeing Lily James, like you said, her smile just like lights up the theater and the screen, and it's just she's so amazing. I loved it.
I think
From the
I don't know if
get-go.
it's the first song, but the song between Dominic Cooper and Amanda Seyfried, where he's
The second
Oh,
song.
yeah.
where he's in New York,
One of
and
us.
it's staged almost like a duet, but they're across, and there's a lot of practical camera tricks that
I love
put them
that,
close,
yeah.
and it was one of those things that was staged so incredibly well. Where a lot of the first movie, the way that we talked about it. It was kind of like, yeah, there's choreography as if it would be, on stage, and there's no real wit to the filmmaking.
Yeah.
And when that scene played out, I was like, oh, this is an entirely different movie.
I could be wrong about this, but I'm 90% sure that the director of the first film also directed the original
She did,
West End.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I think that probably was why that happened, because she was like, oh, I'll just film
Well, let's
these
just get everything
numbers.
up in front of the camera.
Because it was the same
Yeah.
choreographer as the stage show as well, who also did this. But I think this time you had someone who was actively thinking about it from a cinematic standpoint from the word go.
And the staging in that is really incredible. It's a really great, duet that's across. It's executed very well.
I felt like, I could tell that there was something different with, this director and this movie, like right away from the When I Kissed a Teacher first like big musical number. There's like so much energy and there's like way more people and they're all doing crazy choreographed dances and fun stuff. And it just felt so much more energetic and alive a little bit more than the last movie.
Yep.
You do get that kind of like, they filmed a stage play.
Yeah, and like that song, by any rights, should just be gross and weird. But Lily James, she just freaking pulls it off somehow. Like,
Well, they also rewrote the lyrics
They
so that
did.
the teacher was female.
Yeah.
But I have to say that number, from before even the music started, that pretty much sealed the deal that I was going to love the movie, because when the credits popped up and it said 1979 New College, Oxford, that is where I did my graduate degree, that college at Oxford.
nice.
That's where they shot that number is actually our dining hall.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, yes! But yeah, that number is so inventive and fun, like with the surprise of her tearing off the graduation gown, and then the crowd surfing with the amazing
And the
overhead
dynamos.
shot. Yeah, and then the bike riding, and it just had so much stuff that was, it kind of like, in a weird way, reminded me of West Side Story, the way it's using like this outside setting and location shooting, but in like a very musicalized way.
Yeah. And those amazing long-range wireless mics they have.
Yeah.
That work all the way to the river. I was thinking about that. They're like,
In 1979.
yeah,
That's right.
damn, they're still working out there. Okay.
One of my favorite tidbits, I did like an extensive breakdown of When I Kissed the Teacher for us and talked to the production team about it. And the costumes that Donna and the Dynamos wear in that is meant to be a nod to The Sound of Music. They're supposed to be made out of the curtains of their dorm rooms. And so in the next scene after that, where they're in their dorm, if you look really closely, you can see the like holes cut out of the curtains.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was like something I didn't pick up when I watched it, but when they told me that, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I love it.
Sound of Music or Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Honestly, When I Kiss a Teacher is the song that I have been playing like on repeat this entire week. I don't know why. It's just like, it's something about it is so much fun. And I even listened back to the ABBA version and I was like, I think I like the Lily James one better. I don't know.
Well, to quote the director, that song is a banger. So
It's so great. It's a great like starting up the day song. I don't know.
yeah, totally.
Well, and you mentioned like the rewriting of the lyrics. I think like it seemed to me like there was more of that in this one.
I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think that Benny and Bjorn, who are the two members of ABBA who did the songwriting and have been involved with Mamma Mia since the beginning, producing it, I think they were a lot more reluctant the first time around to change lyrics, but this time they were kind of more gung-ho for it, because My Love, My Life, which is that tear-jerking ballad at the end that we were talking about before, they said, they rewrote a lot of that so it would be about a christening and not about a relationship. And but they seem like really cool guys from everything I could tell. They both have cameos in the movie, which is super fun. I think that added a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had to do a little bit more work with this one to try to make the leftover songs fit into a new story.
It was interesting because Al Parker, the director, was saying that it was sort of a blend of, sometimes they were writing to a song, so they knew like, the movie's called Mamma Mia, we have to include Mamma Mia. How are we including it? So let's write a scenario that will lead us into that song. And then there were other moments, like When I Kissed the Teacher, where they were like, okay, we're going to have a graduation ceremony. She's going off into the world. What is something that would fit thematically here? Like, let's go through the catalog. And also, I guess Super Trooper was originally meant to be the song that opened the movie, so that in the first movie, when they perform Super Trooper, it's like a callback to this thing they did in their youth.
Right.
But then the director was like, I don't want to start the movie with a song we already used.
Yeah.
So that people are like, oh, this is just
The same
all
song.
the same stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably smart.
I should note too, like, I think part of the reason the script and the emotions and the writing is so good on this is because Richard Curtis played a role in writing the script. And if you want someone to write a good emotional love story, call Richard Curtis.
But also like ridiculous crowd following things as well too. Like I thought about it later and I was like, a lot of even though they did this in the first movie, the Greek chorus that we made fun of, or that, that they have, it's clearly like a play on words. But in this one, the Greek chorus I felt was less offensive, less obtrusive. They got a few of them actually were like characters a little bit. And, but yeah, some of those scenes where they're all following really reminded me of it's the Colin Firth one in Love Actually too. Yeah. Or any of those really.
I think he's in Portugal or southern France or something.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Well, I don't know. Do we want to talk about the guys?
Sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about boys.
Yeah. So you got Hugh Skinner, who is playing Bill. No, sorry.
He's Harry.
Harry, my bad. Colin Firth. And she meets him in Paris, which is what we had heard before. And they go like kind of on a date, and they have a meet cute at the hotel where he's naked, of course. And
the best kind of meet cute.
And then he sings Waterloo to convince her to take his virginity.
Yeah. That number is so fun. Like, the baguette that is involved just made my life.
I love that scene too. Like they go in that restaurant and everyone's wearing these like goofy soldier outfits that are working in the waitstaff. And as soon as I was there, I was like, there's going to be a musical number here. Yep. I can tell.
And I had kind of expressed that I was displeased with Colin Firth's gay storyline in the first movie, and I thought that they actually handled it really nicely in this one. It could have really been like I'm gay, but I'm trying to convince myself I'm straight. But it was very earnest, and he was very much just like, no, this person is great, and I am in love with or attracted to them, and I don't know what's going on in my life, and I'm just seeing, what's up.
I think it kind of gets back to what we were talking about of Colin Firth's advice to them as the younger actors. Like, you're not playing me, you're playing this character, and it's kind of like, okay, well, that's the fixed point. The character that we saw there, that's the horizon. How do I move towards that as an actor? How do I move, and so it really gives an authenticity to it. And I think that that's the thing that works so well. Like, you can see him like on screen kind of figuring that out.
Yeah.
And there's something really, I'm going to say the word delightful again. I'm going to say delightful in this movie about a lot, but there's something really true and great about it.
Yeah, I just thought it was handled so nice and earnestly, like I said, and it could have really been like a slapstick conversion, type thing. Like, if you were going for just comedy, that might be what people stereotypically would have just gone for, but instead they took the more thoughtful path.
Yeah, and I think it was a really powerful statement for it just to be about, like, I'm loving this person.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Regardless of any trappings of sexuality or gender or anything like that. And not in any sort of heavy-handed way. Just, this is the story and this is who I am.
Yeah.
And it's Lily James, so...
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? Yeah.
Exactly.
The other thing that I thought was surprising and I really loved about this musical number is it has this big, like, featured moment for a dancer in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of see her in the background and, at first you're like, oh, great, they included someone handicapped or whatever. And but then she gets this whole moment where they really focus on her, and it's not just like someone who's in the background. I just thought that was really great.
Yeah.
For this really kind of like inclusive feeling fun movie.
I also love too, we talked a little bit about the ABBA cameos, and the piano player in this scene is Benny Anderson, one of the songwriters. And I just love that's like a little fun thing that they threw in there.
It was just, and it was just great that they found this awesome way to include that song, because, like, Eliz, you were joking, like, oh, they didn't put Waterloo in because no one gets the reference, because it's like a thing about
European
war.
history. Yeah, I was saying that's why they included it as an encore in the first one, because who's going to know, like,
how are they going to fit that into the movie?
Well, I will say, though, the one interesting thing I learned about Waterloo for the year I lived in the UK was that apparently facing my Waterloo is a very common idiomatic expression in England. So, like, people say that as a cliche, basically. Like, I have to face my Waterloo or whatever. So that's why that song uses that lyrics. So, like, I had always thought, oh, it's this weird historical reference, but no, it's just picking up a commonly used phrase.
It's kind of another cool thing about ABBA. Like, they were always talking about how, like, no one else could have written songs about, stuff like this, because no American band's going to be writing a song called Mamma Mia. Like, it's like just not a thing people are saying around here a lot.
Sure.
Like, so there's something unique about the band that just, is very cool.
So after she parts ways with Harry, she meets Bill at the docks.
Ugh.
And in my opinion, and the opinion of the girls leaving the theater at the same time as us, he's definitely the hottest of the three. I mean, they're all good looking, but he's the one that it's like, ooh, I'm lost in his eyes.
I feel like there's the biggest gap on Bill between young Bill and
sure.
He got old.
It's all that time in the sun on both.
Yeah, that must be it.
No, I definitely agree. He is the hottest of the three. Like, it's that long blonde hair and the sailing.
I mean,
he's a dreamy Swede.
Yeah, it makes sense for his character.
Yeah.
I also thought it was really funny how they said older Bill couldn't come to the opening because he was getting an award for being the greatest Swede of all time. Like, what? That's not an award.
Well, I think they were fucking with them. They were joking around with him, but it was just like I was like, but essentially.
They never explained what it actually was.
But I also feel like that's just an actual award Stellan Skarsgård could receive.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, I felt like that whole sequence was a little bit of a sending up of him and the fact that he is like the patriarch of an acting dynasty at this point, and all of whom are Swedish.
Well, and I think, Tyler, you were talking about in the first movie how it's just like a known thing that he'll just just get naked for every
Right.
movie. And this time they were like, okay, don't get naked. He was like, okay, fine. If you won't let me get naked, fat suit.
That was so insane.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? So like so we see this awards dinner and they call him up and this, Stellan Skarsgård in a giant fat suit comes up and you're like, holy shit.
Like, what happened to Stellan Skarsgård?
What you been doing, Bill?
But then it turns out that he has a twin brother who's really fat and has some sort of weird goat story.
He forced him to accept the award. It's crazy.
That was just like one of the most insane
Yeah,
plot
and then
lines.
the reason that Harry can't come is because he is signing a contract to become the richest company in all of Europe, is what they tell him. It's like, what? When did he become like Richard Branson or something? Like, I'm pretty sure he was just a regular banker guy in the first one.
They're all
But now he's Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
They're all just like at the top of their game 10 years later.
That's right.
Except for Pierce, who stayed
It
in the
was
shack.
it was reuniting with Donna. She was the inspiration.
Yeah, I
behind
guess
it.
so.
Probably true.
So yeah, Bill, like, he gets almost like a shortened part of introduction because he comes back more later. So they don't. She doesn't
But he
sleep. With
tries to get in her
He does
pants
try.
Yeah.
immediately.
He does. He definitely does, as one does. And then they have this thing where they save this guy who's trying to swim to his love who's getting married, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. To me, it was like if Michael's first marriage in The Godfather went better, it would have been this scenario.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I think, again, like the Greek chorus, these people are definitely part of it, and they get their own little like storylines, which is nice this time.
Yeah.
So, and I think overall what you said about inclusiveness, I think even just the people that lived on the island were more diverse this time.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just all these like really stereotypical like Greek extras. It was like, okay, there's other people that have come to live on this island now.
Yeah.
It's not just Meryl Streep, the only white person among all these olive-skinned, Greek people. So
Yeah. I still think that, like, at this point, the people who live on the island must be starting, like, legends of the white people that every 10 years they get together and no one can work because they just sing songs.
They are stricken by this strange disease that makes them burst into song.
Yeah, there's even this amazing, like, callback during when they sing Dancing Queen. The lady that's holding the sticks in the first movie, who's like carrying a pile of sticks and throws them off to go dance. Like, they show her again, and she has a expression on her face like, "Fuck no, not this again." She's like, "No, stop! I need to carry these sticks."
Speaking of callbacks, I also loved that and When I Kissed the Teacher, Lily James did a cannonball into the river the same way Meryl Streep did in Dancing Queen in the first movie.
Oh yeah. There's lots of fun callbacks just out of nowhere that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the third guy, Sam Pierce.
Sam.
And this is a Warhorse kid. Which I didn't recognize him, but I saw it on Wikipedia that it's
Of course
him.
he's got a horse.
Yeah. So that's why he was able to help her control the horse. Obviously, you know. He's like, oh, a horse in a barn? You ain't seen nothing. Okay.
I gotta say, like, my one minor quibble with the movie was that I for the amount of time Sam and Donna spend together, I was like, you spent 30 years thinking about this?
Yeah.
Like, it is a little abbreviated. I mean, I guess, like we said, they're trying to balance a lot of characters and two different timelines. So there really was no other way to go about it. But I definitely partly was like, wow, she really made an impression. But again, it is Lily James. So.
And I mean,
I think he could could have perseverated her over it. Of like, I was like, that was my one chance to get out of this mistake that I made.
Yes.
And like, seems like he hates his fucking kids.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's clearly already like, I'm not sure I want to take this leap. He says something about like, I need to go on this vacation before I sign up for the rest of my life or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's already kind of like, thinking about that, and then he meets this girl, and he's the only one that she like says, come away with me. Basically, let's live here and just do this crazy thing. Like, That would make an impression on
I want to
someone, I
believe
think.
that the songs, spanned at least a couple days.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some
Yeah, it's definitely not just
montaginess.
2 days. Like you got a little montage. I mean, obviously it can't be too far away because it's got to be close enough so that it's ostensibly that it could have been
any of
Colin
that.
Firth that got her pregnant.
Right.
But I mean, you could fudge it by a week or maybe a week and a half.
A week would be enough to
Yeah.
be like thinking about someone for 30 years, probably.
Yeah, sure.
You'd be surprised.
When she looks like Lily James.
Yeah. And then he's like, I could have be on that island right now.
Yeah. It's funny because he does mention his 2 kids that he hates in the first movie, and it's like Amanda Seyfried would have like these 2 brothers, but they never even address it. He obviously, after he married Meryl Streep, he just stayed on that island with them, like not care. I mean, they were grown, but not caring about his other kids. You know,
Maybe they came there. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe they thought he was lost at sea when he went to this Greek island. They've lost all contact.
Pierce Brosnan
with
faked
him.
his own death.
Well, they used to say that you could sail off the edge of the world
Yeah.
at that island, and he must have.
Yeah.
They're flat earthers. Is that?
Yeah, that's what they say in the first.
I know they do.
I mean, I'd hate my dumb kids if they thought the Earth was flat.
Oh my god.
I will say he definitely got like all the trappings of the hottie though. Like he had the motorcycle. He was a photographer.
Architect.
The boat rowing, the architect, that like super sweet cabin they were staying in. Yeah, I mean, even though Bill was like objectively the hottest, Sam had a lot going for him.
It's like we didn't see when Bill went off to do his race, the 4 other women he hit on.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, the like 3 people he slept with on his boat before
Yeah.
Donna got there. He's like, let me slot you into this afternoon.
That's right.
So we've kind of skipped forward the part where we find out basically that I'm forgetting her name, Amanda Seyfried. Sophie, yeah, duh. She has remodeled the hotel and she's going to reopen it, and that's why everyone's coming to the island for this grand opening party. And so Tanya and Rosie arrive on the island, and they immediately meet the manager guy who is helping Sophie manage the hotel. And it's Andy Garcia, and we know he is Hispanic. So when we see him, we immediately they just keep calling him Senor Cienfuegos the entire time, and we're like, his first name's Fernando.
This fucker's name.
I must be the densest person on earth because I never picked up on that. And
Are you serious?
Yeah. So literally when the spotlight goes to him and Cher goes, Fernando? I literally was like, what? It was the best reveal ever. I was
Okay.
pleased
So it
as
worked on you.
punch.
That's
It
good.
worked on
Get her
me.
in the test audience.
Yeah.
We were literally there. This fucker's name is Fernando.
And I think it was when Christine Baranski sees him, it's like
Oh my God.
probably by far one of our favorite moments of the movie. And you think she's going to say, "Be still my beating heart." And instead she just says, totally deadpan, "Be still my beating vagina." And everyone, including us in the theater, laughed so hard for like at least 60 seconds that I don't even know what the hell Julie Walters said after that, because we were all laughing so hard.
I have to say that Tanya, both 1979 version and present day version, had the best lines in the
Yes.
whole
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
Like, I am definitely going to be using "I visually enjoy you" moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, we want to talk a little bit about like the writing in this film. They totally stepped up everything. I feel like there's way more great comedic beats.
Yeah.
Tanya and Rosie, like in the first film, I was kind of like, in the last week saying like, oh my God, I was annoyed by them immediately. They're so annoying. This movie, I think they're my favorite characters.
Yeah.
And they have probably my, what I think is my favorite musical number in the entire film. And I just think they did such a great job, like leaning into their characters and giving them even more to do. And just getting to see their backstory helps fill them out a little bit more.
Exactly, because I think we talked about that the romance between Rosie and Bill felt really weird and contrived during the wedding reception.
Yeah.
And now that we know she had an attraction to him before, it's way more
That
genuine.
was sad.
It was sad.
I have to say about Angel Eyes, which was such a great number,
Amazing.
that the director told me that all of her stuff, like where she's, you know, tripping over things, they're like climbing onto the table that the other people are leaping on gracefully, that was the last take. Like they had all this ornate choreography and he was like, just do something fun. And that's what they ended up with.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's genius.
Yeah, the whole song, it's like Rosie like starts the song off, and then she spends the entire song like playing catch up with the choreography, basically. Yeah, like she doesn't know what she's doing.
Tanya and Sophie are being lifted by random Greek men, and then she like walks up and they just walk away.
Yeah, and just like
that song was brilliant. Is that the one that you were saying?
Julie Walters, like her facial expressions. She starts off the song, and then Christine Baranski keeps interrupting her, like finishing her sentences, and you know just that exchange, you know, in the very beginning of the song, like, you know, it tells so much about the relationship, and you can see that, like, you know, Rosie's probably told Tanya this story like a million times. Yeah. And so she's like finishing the sentence, and but the look on her face when she like interrupts her singing moment is just like priceless.
Well, and it's also too like tropes about men, because Julie's Rosie is complaining about men, and Tanya, instead of letting her just vent, is like, well, I also have been screwed over by men. Let me tell you, like, and then jumping into all the sentences.
It's just so amazing. Like I would almost wanted to see it again just for that performance alone. I loved it. Great stuff.
So her two friends come to visit her on the island so that they can perform in front of nobody at this bar. But then, of course, they get all the village people not the village people, but people in the village.
Like, I must have dozed off.
Yeah. That would be sweet. That's the next jukebox musical. P.S.
Where was YMCA?
The people of the village eventually become engrossed in Dancing Queen.
Yeah. Oh no!
No, sorry.
I was going to say only because they sing the best song ever.
Yes.
Mamma Mia.
And also have the most amazing bell bottoms in the history of mankind.
So good. Yeah. Back in the future, everything gets ruined by the storm.
Oh, I gotta say before that that Donna's audition to officially join this band,
gosh, that was one of my favorites.
Andante is an ABBA song I'd never heard before. That is now one of my favorite songs. It's beautiful.
Her performance of that song is so just like understated and like feels like you're right there watching her sing it. Like that's probably one of not my favorite number, because it's obviously not, there's no crazy things going on, but when I've been listening to the soundtrack, like that's the one that I'm like, oh man, I love that
it's
song.
super magnetic and like super intimate. It's like it's ridiculous.
It's my favorite discovery from the movie.
Yeah. So everything's been ruined, and also Harry and Bill have decided that, you know, screw it, they're coming to the thing. So
there's a storm, which I thought was going to be a musical number. Andy Garcia's like, storms are brewing.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. He's like, he has magical powers to like tell people the future.
He's like almost like the Bagger Vance of this island.
It's so great because he's like, I don't know, he's like mid sentence, or someone's like saying something, and he stops and holds his hand out like, wait a minute. There's a storm coming.
He does like the Mary Poppins, like winds in the east, storms coming in, you know? Like,
it was just so funny. Like, what? This guy's magic? Okay.
So yeah, the island gets all fucked up, and all the decorations get ruined. Yeah. And I guess the fishing.
No one can fly there.
No one can fly there, and then there's not a lot of boats because of the storm.
Yeah. But Bill, when he gets to the mainland, is reunited with the Apollonia guy.
Mr. Apollonia.
Yeah, Mr. Apollonia. And so they decide to bring everybody onto the island.
This is another great comedic scene where the guy who he rescued is like, oh my God, this guy saved my life and my marriage the other day. And it cuts back to the whole restaurant and no one's listening.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's like, hey, we're going to go to a free party with alcohol, then everyone's like, all of a sudden, like, yeah! Like,
and then Bill says, listening. And bring your wives and families. And all the men go, But it was interesting because I saw also that Ole Parker, the writer, who was then brought on to direct, he had said, like, he didn't know that they were going to ask him to direct. Yeah. And then he's like, if I had known I was going to direct, I wouldn't have written a giant dance number on 3 boats.
No, that was the thing I said immediately. I was like, fuck that. Like, that's no. Like, that was incredible that they did it, but yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, and this is so this is where Dancing Queen comes back.
Yeah.
And this is just like full blown joy in this movie, like the way it comes about, because she's, Sophie is like, beside herself because she's been planning this whole thing, and
Sky's not going to be there.
Yeah, Sky's not going to be
they're
there.
fighting.
Yeah.
And also she's pregnant.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. And then Pierce Brosnan's like, hey, but look through these binoculars. I see something's coming. And she zooms in the binoculars and the song starts, and it's just like everyone having the
Your heart
time of their
explodes.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having the time.
Like,
I did like how they changed so many lyrics for this one, right? But they're like, we can't change the chorus of Dancing Queen. And so there's one time where they say, young and sweet, only 17, where Pierce Brosnan and Rosie and Tanya kind of look at themselves and they're like, like, we're not 17. They're like stretching their back.
He
and,
looks like winded
he's
for a second.
Yeah, he's holding his dad bod and like they're like, ooh.
Stellan Skarsgård and Colin Firth doing Titanic.
I forgot about that.
The best. I like almost fell out of my chair.
Their bromance is legendary.
It was just funny. Like, what were their plan here? They're just going to dance the entire time as they get closer, and it's just going to be a big party, and the whole island.
Well, I mean, there's a chance you're going to sail off the end of the earth, so you want to be having a good time.
Just go out with
That's
it.
right.
Yeah. There's just some amazing shots of like Colin Firth like hanging from the like the ropes on the.
But
boat.
after they all dance on shore, and it's
Boat
revealed
ropes.
that both dads are there and Sky is there, and the music number is over, she goes to the bathroom and pukes, and she's sitting next to the toilet. And after she pukes, she goes, "Well, I guess we know what that means." And it's like, would you? Do you have a pregnancy test?
It's like the storm ruined the shellfish?
Yeah, it's like, you need to run to the local island CVS and get yourself a pregnancy test, at least the pee test, before you announce it to everybody. I mean, she clearly didn't have time to get a blood test. And
Yeah,
so,
I thought she was pregnant from like very early on in the movie. There's a scene where she like pensively lays down on the bed and like puts her hand over her stomach like really deliberately.
Yeah, but
And I was
like she
she's
clearly
pregnant.
didn't know, because she said, "Well, I guess
Right.
I'm pregnant."
No,
She
but
immediately tells her husband, who then tells everybody else.
But it was because they needed the shot matching for
Yes.
Donna
Yes,
throwing up
yes.
in the
That's
toilet
right.
at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then I've Been Waiting for You is really sweet.
Oh,
It's
Tearjerker.
It's across time. Lily James and Amanda Seyfried kind of have this number together, and Lily James giving birth and being pregnant alone, which is like Amanda Seyfried gets emotional later because she says like, I have all these people supporting me, and I have money, I have a business, I have 3 dads and 2 aunts or whatever, and my mom had nobody, which is really, I thought, like shown nicely in this scene.
Yeah.
I would like to say I saw someone the other day tweeted that they, Mindy Kaling has not revealed the father of her child.
Oh my God.
And they were like, in 20 years, can we have Mindy Kaling, Mamma Mia, where there are 3 possible dads? And I was like, I support
Yes,
this
yes.
idea.
Oh my God.
Let's do it.
I'm the Fry meme right now. Shut up and take my money. That is amazing. Yeah. God, that's so good. So they all go on to the party, and suddenly Cher is there.
By helicopter.
By helicopter.
So she's decided to finally take part in Sophie's life, and thankfully Sophie's not bitter.
Yeah. I was like, you're just going to welcome her with open arms. You're not going to be like,
Yeah.
thanks, but no thanks.
She's like, you missed my wedding, you missed the funeral, you missed my whole life, and now you're here.
And she kept weirdly trying to like steal the spotlight from her a couple times.
Yeah.
I could have personally done without Cher in this movie.
Get out.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not
just-
really allowed to say that, but I might sort of agree
it just felt
story-wise.
like- I felt the same way too, where I was just kind of like, I know this is working for somebody.
I know. Just for me, it was like too stunty. Like I loved all the characters they had, and then it was like, now it's a Cher concert.
If they had laid down the ground for it a little stronger.
Yeah.
or maybe if it didn't end the movie like that, like
Yeah.
it feels like she totally. I mean, because she's such a personality. she's larger than life, so she kind of takes over everything that she's in, and the movie kind of ends with that. And I was a little bit
apparently she was offered the Christine Baranski role the first in the first movie.
Oh wow!
But she turned it down. I forget why. I think because she said she didn't feel like she could play it, like she was a good fit for it.
Honestly, I think that's
the
good.
right call.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I feel of two minds. I love her so much in this movie, and it's such a great experience and moment. But I do agree that story-wise, it's like a little weirdly shoehorned in there to like have this Cher moment. And also because she was in the trailer, I spent a large portion of the movie waiting for her to show up.
Right.
And
Really
then it was
Damn it, where's Cher?
just at the very end.
Yeah, I definitely, because of the trailer too, I thought she was going to arrive a lot sooner and that they were going to kind of hash out their relationship a little more.
Yeah, I think I would have liked that better. It wouldn't have felt so like shoehorned or just like this weird side plot at the end. That
Well, yeah, it would have
we
made a
didn't
little
really
bit more
need.
sense too, because I mean, I guess you could have expanded that relationship more, but then you'd have to kind of cut a lot of the flashbacks.
Yeah.
And so they decided to double down on the flashbacks and kind of ignore the
There's just
grandma
not
role.
any emotional payoff to her showing up.
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all, really.
Okay, but then when she says Fernando and the spotlight goes to Andy Garcia and my brain exploded.
That was kind of funny.
His name's Fernando, and apparently both of them served together as soldiers in the Mexican-American War of 1846 is what that song is about. And so they
So it
sing.
has been many years since
Yeah.
he held a
That's
rifle
right.
in his
Cheryl looks
hands.
even better than we thought for her age.
Yeah.
I was worried for Cher of like her being like brittle in this movie of like dancing, and I was like, oh, just be careful.
Well, Cher is only 3 years older than Meryl Streep in real life, which
that's
makes it
crazy.
even more ludicrous that she's playing
Right.
her mother.
But let's be honest, none of the ages add up on
No.
this. Like
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the first one, for Meryl Streep's age to have had a kid at 20, like that's a weird
Yeah.
age gap. Because then Sophie's only supposed to be like 18, 20, or 21 or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But Andy Garcia also, I have to say, has had the summer of his life. I don't know if you guys saw Book Club, but he romances Diane Keaton in that. And apparently both in that and in this, like, Diane Keaton and then Cher were asked, like, who do you want to play your love interest? And both of them said Andy Garcia.
oh my god!
Yeah.
Wow, that's funny.
So
All right.
go Andy Garcia.
Yeah, he's doing it.
Yeah.
This
Living the dream.
Yeah. This song also features the world's most extravagant fireworks display that is literally covering 360-degree sky around them.
That's right.
I was like, damn, that must have cost $1 million.
I feel like I want all musical numbers to have fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
It was just funny.
requirement.
The camera was like spinning around them and there was just fireworks everywhere. And like, you've seen fireworks. It looked like they had like
A lot.
like 5 Rose Bowl displays around them.
It's amazing that they weren't destroyed by the storm, like their papery decorations.
Well, they got tarps. Come
Sure.
on.
Yeah.
Fireworks crew was on it.
So then we flash forward to the christening, which takes place on that same island with tons of stairs that they they were gonna have the wedding on.
Now they're 10 years older going up those stairs.
They all complain about that, which I'm like valid. Yeah.
Because I don't want to climb those steps.
No, especially not in fancy clothes. And then, like we talked about, the number with Ghost Meryl Streep.
I was
and,
like, we learned that ghosts are real.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it was
I'm just
really emotional. Like, just even thinking about like losing anyone in your life and thinking about them at the big moments.
Yeah.
That you
That
wish
they're
they were
not
there
there
for.
It was really well done.
It's incredibly touching. It's the same. Like there's a really the director in the movie has a good idea of what the song's trying to say, what you're seeing on screen, and the cognitive dissonance between the two perspectives. And like it's not like she's here and hooray, like you can feel the distance, you can feel like the perspectives there. It doesn't.
They really walk that line well
smart,
of
yeah.
like just realistic but not realistic. She's a ghost. She's not really a ghost. Like she wasn't like translucent.
Yeah.
Okay, like,
Thank
She
God.
wasn't leaving slime everywhere.
yeah. She wasn't like in a mirror or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she was there,
It was like she was
but
there, yeah.
nobody could
but
see
just
her,
like
obviously.
spiritually there.
Very nice.
I have to say, we talked a little bit about the lyric changes already, and that song, "I've Been Waiting for You," they were so beautifully handled to turn them from one kind of love song into a mother-daughter love song. And ABBA, man, the mother-daughter songs, because Slipping Through My Fingers from the first movie always kills me as well. And even though Slipping Through My Fingers, I think, was always about a mother and her child, and these were changed to be for that purpose, they're just so powerful and affecting and coming from such a real emotional place.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have talked about there's, a lack of mother-daughter movies. I think that's why Lady Bird really resonated so much last year, and this is really nice. And I think we saw this tweet that was really funny that was like, we know that feminism's working because we're getting 2 Mamma Mias and 0 Papa Pias. I'm sorry, I can't give credit to whoever said that, but it was so funny.
Yeah,
And
Justin sent it to me at work, and I laughed for like a minute, and I thought I was crazy.
and then my friend Leslie today sent me a tweet that was, it's actually, I guess they already made a Papa Pia joke in The Simpsons, big surprise, where it's like a marquee that says Papa Pia because we had more songs,
Maureen, I'm curious if you have any insight on the decision to kill off Meryl Streep's character.
No one said anything about that. I mean, to be fair, I didn't ask because we were talking mostly about When I Kissed the Teacher. I'm not really sure. I do know. I spoke with Judy Kramer, who has sort of been the creative force behind Mamma Mia from the beginning. She decided to produce the original stage show and had a production company with Benny and Bjorn and made this happen. And she told me that pretty much from the first stage show, not even the movie, that they had wanted to do a sequel, that they felt that they had such a deep back catalog of songs and there were so many that they didn't use, and that just the response to the show from the beginning was so great and it was such a popular thing that it was something they always wanted to do, but it was something they only wanted to do if they felt like they had a good story for. They weren't gonna just like make it for the sake of making it. And so it took 10 years for them to come up with something and find the right emotional beats. And so I'm sure that's probably why it was part of finding what this story needed to be to give it emotional resonance and make it work. And also she did point out, which I think is wise, that like probably it wouldn't be getting the response it's getting if it had come out within a year or two after the first film.
Right,
like,
for sure.
Because 10 years have gone by, people have started watching it when it's on TV all the time and
with their kids.
Yeah, and it's like this. It already was a nostalgia property because of the music and it being the 1970s songs and stuff. But I think it has become even more so, and so people are indulging in it. Also, it's just they lucked into. Well, I don't know if luck's the right word, but it's come out at a perfect moment in that, like, we really need movies like this right now. Sure. I know the day I saw it at a press screening, I think was a particularly bad news day. Not that those aren't frequent. But
was it in 2018?
Yeah. I just remember being like, God, everything is so awful. And I think it was like one of the days some of the terrible stories about mothers and their children being separated was out. And then I went to see this and I was like, this isn't going to solve the world's problems, but it sure made me forget about them for 2 hours.
It's very true. While we're kind of talking about the real world, one thing that I neglected to talk about in our first Mamma Mia episode that I just want to mention is that the fact that these movies and the show and the concept are popular really reflects on the white privilege situation of Meryl Streep and these characters. The only reason that we can think of this as fun and goofy is because Meryl Streep was able to make a life and have money and take care of this girl. She didn't need anything from these fathers, and everything was fine. And all 3 of them were successful and fine people. You could not do a story at all about a black or Hispanic woman who had sex with 3 guys and nobody knew who the father was because everyone would be like villainizing them.
Yeah.
Whereas, oh, it's Meryl Streep, it's funny.
Look at this brave thing she did.
Yeah, exactly. Where, you know, you don't think of her at all as being, you know, promiscuous or in any negative way. And of course that's how they write it too, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah, I'm curious how her slighter presence in this sequel like played with, you know, major fans of the franchise, because like there was I'm just curious because one of the Deadline, you know, does their box office reports on Monday or whatever, and one of the
it was below
one of the
another
you know,
sequel.
example,
That was a shock for people.
one of the what am I trying to say? One of the thoughts they put out for maybe why it faltered a bit on Saturday is that word got out that like Meryl Streep is dead, because they're kind of hiding it in the trailer a little bit.
Well, they kind of mask it so you're not sure.
Like, did she leave him, or is she dead, or what's the deal?
And so maybe fans are like, hey, she's not even barely in the movie.
And it's like they couldn't say in the trailer, it's for a dramatic effect, and she's in it plenty.
I love Meryl, but I don't know if Meryl has that much box office power, to be honest. Like, people really love her, but I don't know if those are the same people that are buying like tons of movie tickets. One thing that is interesting is Judy Kramer also told me that Meryl was the first person they asked if they wanted to do a sequel, and that if she didn't want to do it, they weren't going to do it. So it is very interesting that like she was this linchpin, even though she has a significantly reduced role.
Because your first thought would be maybe that like, oh, she didn't want to be involved that much. But like, she even has like, you know, deleted song on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
That I assume probably
was that in
has-
the movie?
No.
Or at any point?
I don't think so. I think that was always just soundtrack. The Lily James song that's on the soundtrack called I Wonder was in the film. It was in the scene where they're in the dorm and all just talking about what they're going to do next, and they cut that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do like, you know, speaking of deleted scenes, they worked back in The Name of the Game, which was deleted from the first movie.
And that's such a good song.
Well, and it works so much better here as a romance thing than an Are You My Father situation.
It's so perfect. And she's like, I need to know the name of the game. And she opens up the diary or whatever and sees the photo. Bill. Or not Bill.
Killer.
Pain.
Great. It was so great.
That deleted or recorded song with Meryl Streep in the credits, I was cracking up because I guess the original version, she's like talking about how she's seen every episode of Dallas, and then this version it changes to like, I've seen every episode of House of Cards. And I was like, of all the TV shows to reference, especially with like Kevin Spacey being disgraced now, I'm like, why didn't you use like literally anything else that would have been more universal? Like,
Lost.
That's weird.
Lost is the one.
Game of Thrones.
She should have said, I've seen every episode of Big Little Lies. You know?
Or just do something like very generic and timeless, like Friends.
Something.
Exactly.
Law and Order. It's a lot of episodes.
Then you could have an additional verse about which Law and Order.
That's right.
So were there any other cool insights that you got from your interviews?
The finale, which is just like the finale in the first one, where everybody comes out in these ridiculous spandex, sparkly disco outfits that are glorious in so many ways, and sing songs that they didn't fit into the plot. That the boys were telling me, because I talked to all 3 of them at once.
Nice.
That
That's awesome.
that they got kind of competitive about the really display nature of the costume, and so they like kept stuffing more and more outlandish things down the front of their spandex. And I think it was Hugh who was like, the fruit bowl was empty by the end of the day. And then apparently Dominic Cooper rolled up a t-shirt and stuck it down his pants. So I have no idea whether any of that actually made it on screen, but I just thought that was really funny that it seems clear from talking to everyone who was involved in this that making the movie was just as fun as watching it, and the joyful experience that you see on screen is the experience that they all had putting it together.
Yeah, I mean, you get a little bit of that. There's like a post-credits scene where it's like clearly like an outtake, or they just let it play until the guy like is,
Oh, with the feather boa?
the guy who's like
The fairy like passport guy.
Yeah.
passport guy.
Yes, that one.
And he starts singing like "Take a Chance on Me,"
Yeah.
and he just keeps going, and then he's like, "You guys can say cut whatever," and they all laugh.
Yeah.
And I love this end credits scene. I think is so much more fun than the kind of like onstage performance like one that they had in the last one.
Yeah.
And we get all these like shots of the older guys dancing with their counterpart, younger
Very
guys.
cute.
loved
So cute.
that.
Yeah.
And everyone's just having fun. And then the one when we get to Colin Firth, he's just standing there like unimpressed, while his younger counterpart dances around him.
Yeah.
So that was so funny. He's like, "Get away from me."
And apparently they all, even though like the younger boys are never in the storyline at the same time, and then you've got the split timelines with the older and the younger. Apparently they were on the island for like 5 or 6 weeks, and they all lived there in like one big apartment complex. So they all became really close.
Easy.
So fun.
Yeah.
Oh my
Sounds
God.
They said it was basically like being on holiday and not working.
Yeah.
And apparently there were like all these stray animals on the island that they adopted and like took into their apartment building. So I think that's really cool, because you would think maybe in a movie where your storylines are so separate that these people wouldn't
No,
meet
absolutely.
until the premiere or whatever. But no, they spent tons of time together. So I thought that was
Where was the island?
great.
Did you say that? Sorry.
It's in Croatia.
Okay.
It's the island of Viz, I think, in Croatia. So
Yeah, I think that's right.
So I never suggest these ranking
You
things,
got one?
but I do have one.
What
I
is
think
it?
that you would have picked the same one, but
What
I'm
is
going
it?
to say, guys, how many out of 10? So how many beating vaginas would you give this movie out of 10? Is that not what you were thinking?
That's great. I wasn't even thinking about it yet.
Okay.
That's amazing. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll go first. Sure.
Sure.
I'm gonna give it 8 beating vaginas out of 10 because I think this one is all around better than the first film, in my opinion. Even though, maybe it might not have the most iconic songs, but it's got some of them. And then, like Maureen was saying, it makes these new songs now iconic that maybe you haven't heard before. And now you're going to dig deeper into the ABBA catalog. And, like we've all said it, Lily James is amazing.
Yep.
The like pathos and nostalgia and like emotion of this sequel is so much like stronger than the first film. It's just like, I'll say it again. I'm shocked that it is this good. I was not expecting that at all, and I think everybody should go see it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the 8. I think that it's typically something that I would probably give like a 6 or 7, but I was shocked at how good it is, and also just we need movies like this, like something that brings people together, something that you feel. I really liked what you said about like it's not making the world a better place, but it certainly made me forget about what's going on for a little bit.
Yep.
And I think that just have something that's just completely uncynical and loving. It was a joy to watch, and 8 beating vaginas.
nice. Well, I mean, this should come as a shock to no one, but I give it 10 beating vaginas out of 10.
All possible beating vaginas.
Yeah. I was so in love with it. It so far exceeded what I thought we were going to get. As everyone has already said, it just has this level of emotion and amazing storytelling that for as much fun as I have watching the first movie over and over again, I don't get out of it. And I love that you can feel the real relationships between the cast and how much they all really like each other as people. And it's funny and moving and just so many things. And you watch it and you just want to drive really fast in a feather boa while Fernando blasts out your windows. So
Totally.
yeah, it's fantastic. It's kind of funny because with the premiere and the junket, they've been asking the cast would you do a Mamma Mia 3? And I'm on the fence about whether that should happen because this is so perfect and I kind of don't want it to be bad if it happened.
They pulled off a miracle once. Can they do it again?
Yeah.
It's like Toy Story.
Not if they're going to call it Mama 3.
Oh my God. Don't give them any ideas.
I have to say, when I was interviewing the director, he was like, "What did you think of it?" And I was like, I didn't do this on purpose. It literally just came out of my mouth. I was like, I was having the time of my life. And then he was like, and I was like, oh my God, no, I did not intend that as a joke. I'm sorry. I genuinely meant that.
Oh my God. I don't know. I was thinking this week, like, man, if this movie does really well, are we going to start getting all sorts of other like movie musical sequels?
Oh
like
my God, please.
Back Into the Woods or Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
East Side Story.
East Side Story.
Cincinnati, the sequel to Chicago.
Oh Lord.
There haven't been a lot of movie musical sequels, so
Yeah.
You never know.
And I'm gonna agree with you guys and give it 8 beating vaginas. I thought it was great, and like I already kind of said, it's one of the few sequel or prequel movies that actually makes me look fonder upon the past movies. Like, it actually makes me appreciate it more and like it more, the characters and the people, which I think is kind of rare.
It added life instead of sucking blood.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's going to bring us to the end. So we're going to start wrapping up here. Maureen, thanks for being here.
Thank you
My
so much.
pleasure. Yeah. I mean, anything to talk about Colin Firth and sparkly spandex.
Where can people look for you or find your work?
So you can follow me on social media. My handle is at the Maureen Lee, MaureenLee. And that's Instagram and Twitter. You can also just find my author page on EW.com or look for my byline in the pages of the magazine.
Awesome. And we have a couple exciting announcements for you guys before we head out here. A couple of weeks, I think maybe even last week or a couple of weeks ago, we've been talking about this campaign called 2 Pods a Day that we've been getting on. Eliz, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, 2 Pods a Day. It's a Twitter account and hashtag, which they, of course, feature 2 Pods a Day. And we're super stoked to be one of those. It's been really cool to discover new podcasts that I might have known about before, and there's little blurbs about them so you can get a good idea, and they suggest an episode. So if you need more stuff to listen to, definitely check out that hashtag and Twitter handle, the number 2, so 2 Pods a Day.
Yeah, and we've already been starting to make a few friends out of this. We actually hooked up with this podcast, Double Issue, hosted by Quentin Pongrantz and Daniel Poole. And if you guys haven't heard of them, you should check them out. They are a super fun and creative explosion of a podcast. The whole thing is they're telling stories and building worlds within a superhero structure that they have set up on their own. The most recent episode features 2 stories written by them based around the story prompt Tabula Rasa. And it's these guys are just, if you're looking for just creative, wild ideas for an hour a week, you should really check these guys out. I mean, they're doing some really awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's cool because I think something that we focus on with all of our franchises is the rules of the world and the world building, and that's kind of what they're doing with these stories as they expand the fictional world that they've created.
Yeah, and as much as we can talk about them, I think you might be better to just hear from them yourself.
We are Double Issue, a weekly superhero fiction podcast.
Is that like an audio drama?
Only sort of. Some weeks we read short stories set to sound effects and music.
And the rest of the time?
Mostly BSing.
Oh, brainstorming?
That's right. We talk and come up with new ideas and characters to use in those stories.
Characters like
Amy Dangerous,
Broadband and Dial-Up,
Itchable,
Moonglow,
Thorn,
Captain Havoc,
Double Take,
Klepsomia,
Aster,
Echo,
Cyberwolf,
Paladin,
Rimmer,
Battle Maiden,
Aqualine,
Miss Mist,
Werewolf,
Spellbinder,
Lady Luck,
Hildy the Hunter,
Guardian Guard,
the Immortal Reggie,
Sparkplug,
Sid Slaughter,
Shadow Doom,
Boulder Shark,
Cup Hands,
and many more.
So join us every Monday at doubleissue.show or wherever you get your podcasts.
One more thing that we're super excited about. Next week is our 50th episode, you guys. Not only that, our birthday is coming up this week.
Yay.
Tomorrow and Friday, we released our first 2 episodes ever. Our intro episode, Nice to Meet You, and our first episode ever on An American Tale. So now is the time to go back and check those out. And,
Yeah.
Wish us happy birthday because we're only 1 year old.
I know. That's still pretty impressive in my book. And
I'm barely learning how to talk.
What's a microphone?
If you want to give us a birthday present, definitely share us with your friends and subscribe. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you tune in next week for our 50th episode, we will be kicking off a brand new franchise, the Sean Connery starring
James Bond as a dragon.
the Dragonheart series. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Can you hear the Dragonheart beating? I'm sorry, I'm being stupid. As per usual.
Yes, it's going to be great. If you love fantasy or the 90s or anything, just you want to hear us talk about this.
Hurricane Heists, Rob Cohen.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
There's some great stuff coming, so don't miss it.
Yeah, so help us celebrate our birthday. Tune in for the 50th episode with Dragonheart. We'll see you guys next week.
I was sick and tired of